Segment 2. Regardless of where you're playing, choosing the right table rules, that's the key. All blackjack tables are not created equal. While there's plenty of variants of side games like Blazing 7, Plus 3, and others, we aren't going to focus on those here because, well, those all have worse odds than blackjack, so we recommend not playing the side games, and thus it doesn't matter which are available. But beyond those, you commonly have from double deck to 8-deck shoes, or in some cases continuous shuffle, which from a mathematical standpoint creates an essentially endless shoe, or an infinite shoe as it's called in some places. You also have differences in the odds, primarily shaped by whether blackjack pays 3-2 or 6-5, and variance on whether the dealer stands or hits on soft 17. Other rules that can impact your odds, including the ability to surrender and whether you're able to double down after splitting a pair. The uninformed player may not recognize the differences, but it's not uncommon to see a variety of these all within the same casino, and they make a significant difference in your odds of winning. For example, if we apply just the basic strategy to the game, which is discussed in the next segment, then if you're playing on a table where the dealer stands on soft 17, double down is allowed on any two cards, but double down is not allowed after a split, and blackjack pays 3-2, then if you're playing on a double deck table, the house advantage is 0.35%. 4 decks raises the house edge to 0.52%. 6 decks raises it to 0.58%, and 8 decks raises it to 0.61%. Let's talk about what the variations ultimately mean then from this default sort of standpoint. If the dealer is able to hit on soft 17, then that adds 0.22% to the house edge. If blackjack's paid at 6-5, the house gains 1.37%. Never play at a 6-5 blackjack table. If you can double after split, then that decreases the house odds by 0.12%. Late surrender decreases the house odds by 0.07%. A little bit, but that still tilts things more into your favor. So first, let's talk about what each of these variations mean. The shoe size, whether from single deck to 8 deck, is rather obvious. As a general rule, the smaller shoe sizes are available on higher minimum bet tables, with the exceptions of some of the downtown and locals casinos that use this to help draw in players. Within your limits, obviously, the fewer the decks, the more advantageous this is for you. The biggest factor is what blackjack pays. Whether it's 3-2 or 6-5 will typically be printed on the felt of the table, but if the casino varies these payouts based on demand, then it could be included instead on the rule sign that is typically to the dealer's right. It may seem trivial, but this is the most impactful rule impacting the house edge, as 6-5 raises the house edge by 1.37% over a 3-2 payout. So what does that mean? On average, over 73 hands, you'll lose whatever your average bet is just due to this rule. Everything else taken out of the equation. And so you're giving away a considerable amount, especially considering you'll play more than 73 hands in an hour during a typical period of time. And this can quickly have a negative impact on your overall performance. Soft 17 is an ace-6. On a stand soft 17 table, the dealer draws to 17 15.25% of the time, to 18-21 55.16% of the time, and busts 29.6% of the time. With hit soft 17, the dealer finishes with 17 14.02% of the time, 18-21 55.98% of the time, and busts 30% of the time. In other words, while there is a minimal 0.4% increase in the amount of time the dealer busts, there is a significantly higher chance that the dealer finishes with 18-21. Say you've drawn to a 19, a hand you most definitely are not going to hit. If playing a stand soft 17 table, you'll push the hand 14.04% of the time, the dealer will win the hand 26.5% of the time, and you'll win 59.46% of the time. But if you have that same 19 on a hit soft 17 table, you'll push 14.24% of the time, The dealer will win the hand 26.92% of the time, and you'll win 58.84% of the time. That's why overall, hitting soft 17 raises the house edge by 0.22%. Doubling after split is worth an additional 0.12% for the player. Say you have a pair of 8s and the dealer showing a 6. Basic strategy says split the 8s. Now you draw a 3 on the first hand. That gives you an 11 on a hand against a bust card for the dealer. Doubling down is definitely the way to go if it's available to you. What is surrender? Surrender in blackjack allows the players to give up their hand and receive half of their original bet back. There are two variations of surrender. Early surrender, which allows you to surrender before the dealer checks for blackjack, and this option is rarely found anymore. But late surrender, which is available on some tables in Vegas. With late surrender, the dealer checks for blackjack first, and if they don't have it, then the player can surrender their initial 2-card hand, receiving half of their bet back. This option should be used only in the scenario where you have a less than 1 in 4 shot of winning the hand, and doing so adds 0.07% to the player's odds. In the next segment, we'll talk much more about what each of these mean and how to play the hands, but ultimately, you can see that at a minimum, you're looking for a 3-2 table, ideally with stand on soft 17 rules, and the fewest decks available for the level of bet that you are comfortable making.